They bought first-class tickets. They waved goodbye to the crowd. And they boarded a train that was supposed to arrive in the next city by noon. But the Zanetti Express never reached its station. No bodies. No wreckage. No survivors. Over 100 years later, locals still claim to see it, a ghostly train gliding silently across the tracks, filled with passengers who never realized they'd left this world behind. This is the true story of the train that vanished into thin air, and the haunting that followed. It was July 14, 1910 in Rome, Italy. A luxury locomotive owned by the Zanetti Company was preparing for its first trip through the newly constructed Lombardy Tunnel, a proud symbol of Italy's modern engineering. There were 100 passengers on board, businessmen, families, a newly married couple, and 2 priests. Everyone was excited to be part of history. The train gleamed under the morning sun, black steel, polished brass, and an engine so powerful it was called the Mechanical Bull. As it left the station, the passengers waved. A few photographers even snapped photos of the proud departure. That's the last time the world ever saw them alive. The Zanetti Express made its way north, moving through small towns before reaching the Lombardy Tunnel, a new passage carved through the mountain, nearly a mile long. Witnesses say the train entered the tunnel around 11:45 a.m. But it never came out the other side. Rail workers waited. Hours passed. Then search teams were sent in. When they walked the full length of the tunnel, all they found was dense smoke and the smell of ozone, like lightning had struck inside. No train. No passengers. Nothing. The tracks were empty, as if the locomotive had evaporated. The Italian government launched an investigation. Every inch of the tunnel was inspected. There were no cave-ins, no alternate exits, and no sign of wreckage. It was as if the train had vanished into another world. The incident was quickly buried by authorities. A corporate error, they said. But survivors don't vanish without a trace, do they? In 1920, 10 years later, a group of monks in Mexico recorded a strange event in their monastery logs. They wrote that a strange iron carriage appeared in the clouds above the valley and disappeared into the hills. Even stranger, 3 men were reportedly found wandering a nearby field, confused and terrified. They spoke Italian and claimed to be passengers from the Zanetti train. They said they had entered a tunnel, felt a white mist, and heard screams, but when they stepped out, it wasn't Italy anymore. They described seeing a world with no sun, and shadow-like figures moving around the train before collapsing from fear. When doctors examined them, they were in shock and spoke of faces pressed against the train windows, whispering, "Stay with us." The men were taken to a hospital, and the next morning, they were gone. Their beds were empty, their clothes folded neatly. Just like the train. After the incident, the tunnel was sealed permanently. Locals refused to go near it, calling it La Bocca del Diavolo, the devil's mouth. But that wasn't the end. For decades afterward, travelers reported seeing a ghostly train appearing on foggy nights along old Italian railway lines. The train was always silent, no steam, no sound, yet people swear they could see faces pressed against the windows, pale and expressionless. In 1991, a night watchman at the Lombardy railway station claimed to hear the sound of a train arriving, long after the line had been decommissioned. When he looked, the tracks glowed faintly, and a dark, misty locomotive slid past him, carrying passengers dressed in early 1900s clothing. The train model and company insignia matched the missing Zanetti Express exactly. But here's the impossible part: that model had never been exported out of Italy. Locals who saw it said the train looked ancient and out of time. And inside they found no bodies, just 100 empty seats and luggage filled with Italian newspapers from 1910. When the photo went public, it mysteriously disappeared from the archives 2 months later. Rail workers still whisper that sometimes, especially near the old Lombardy Tunnel, the ghost train returns, gliding through fog with no sound, carrying the lost passengers forever stuck between worlds. They say if you ever see it, never approach. Because those who do, are said to vanish too. A few hikers have gone missing near the sealed tunnel, leaving only their footprints, ending abruptly on the tracks. Maybe the Zanetti passengers didn't die. Maybe they're still traveling, searching for the station that never comes. So the next time you stand near train tracks at night and hear a distant horn, look twice. Because sometimes, it's not a train from this world. It might just be the Zanetti Express. Riding through time, still waiting for its final stop. You've just heard the true story of the Zanetti Train, the luxury express that vanished into the unknown. If you love real stories where tragedy turns to terror, make sure you hit subscribe to True Mystery Vault. Because here, the truth is always darker than fiction.